find us a little bit more deeper and go and find the truth behind how you manage to grow such a successful business, how you manage to take these videos, make these videos viral, and how you manage to help, thousands of people all around the world to create entertaining content that captures people's imaginations and helps people to just, fulfill their dreams. So firstly, on behalf of the Real Success Network, we just want to say a big thank you for you being with us today.
Well, thank you, guys. It's an honor to be here to talk about my favorite subject in the entire world. So thank you for thinking of me.
Cool. So let's go back. You were on The Voice, and that was I think you were about 21, and you signed a deal, or you were forced to sign a deal, and then that ended up bankrupting you. Am I correct?
I wasn't forced to. So this was actually independent of The Voice. And so it was a show, or it was a deal that I had signed from an investor, pretty much, who believed in me and my talent. And this deal that I had signed, it was a record deal, but not really. He just had some money and wanted to play in the music industry. And so I signed away commercial rights to my name, Adley, for life. I signed away everything I ever would do for life. I owned none of it, and I had no real say over my own future. And so eventually, my lawyer was like, the only way out of this is bankruptcy. And you are 23 years old, you have nothing, you will have nothing. And so this is not the worst option. You can't buy a car or a house in a few years, but I didn't see that as a possibility for myself anyway. So that was it. And the hardest part was coming off The Voice. I had a little bit of leverage, a little bit. But remember, I couldn't use my name to entertain and own any of that work. So I made a fake name, and I started working under that just because I had to make money. I had no way to make money because I couldn't even use the one form of leverage I had. And so I started getting really, really scrappy. And you know how the dots always connect in hindsight? Like what I thought was supposed to be one of the best times of my life. We're coming off this show, and all my friends are signing real record deals, and here I am, bankrupt, unable to use any of my leverage. My dad is passing away from alcoholism. I was in a terrible romantic relationship at the time. And this thing I thought was meant for me, what actually turned out in reality, I was experiencing the opposite. But I really deeply believed, and this is still my motivator for anybody out there listening, I knew the outcome was that I was going to win. I'd already decided that. And so in my mind, when I was going through all this, I was watching my life play out like a movie, like a storybook. And I was like, oh, man, this is going to be one heck of a testimony someday because I know I'm going to come out the other side victorious. And so I just decided that to be true, even though there was no evidence around me that would ever be possible. And I didn't have any answers. I didn't have any pathways, but I had to bring money in the door. And so I learned what business actually is, which is just solving people's problems. And so I just tried to solve as many people's problems as I could, and I had to learn new skills and get really scrappy and pick up tools other than singing for how to leverage myself to get people what they wanted. And that was my first experiment with how to get attention and how to storytell. At the time, I was storytelling myself, but the job became storytelling other people. And now I laugh looking back at that Genesis story because I'm still doing the same thing today. I was just cutting my teeth a long time ago.
That's quite a hefty challenge to go through in your early 20s. Like, how do you get that mental fortitude of that everything is going to work out and it's going to end up being on the way instead of in the way?
Ooh, love the way you said that. I had good people around me. I had a good feedback loop. I had good mentorship. And even though I didn't always have the best circumstances around me, I listened to those whose life I wanted. And I just let those be my inputs. And I think even Lisa Nichols says just to control your inputs. And what you focus on will magnify. And I heard her say that when I was going through this. I listened to her and a lot of other people on the Real Success stages. And those were my guiding mentors outside of my immediate proximity. And so when I learned a lot from their stories.
So you go from that, and then how do you end up becoming a content creator? Because you're an entertainer, all right? You're an entertainer. That's you've already established as a singer. You could have gone into acting. You could have gone into theater. There were so many different routes. How do you end up on Instagram with millions of followers?
Well, after that, happened to me, I realized never again do I want to wait for some suit behind a desk to give me permission to be successful. And so acting and singing in the music industry, you're just waiting for somebody to tell you, yeah, you're good enough to entertain now. Yeah, I'll sign you to a label or publishing deal or give you a stage. And so during that time, I just started making videos direct to consumer and realized videos and content creation removes the permission. The only permission you need is permission from yourself. And that I could give. And so that's how I got into content creation, because we just removed the middleman from the entire situation.
Now, people might be thinking about or watching this and thinking, well, she's lucky because she comes from an entertainment background. Obviously, she's going to go onto social media and she's going to be able to entertain people. Now, there was an interview with Sylvester Stallone where he cast only boxers, like real boxers. And he said, I can't teach an actor how to box, but I can teach a boxer how to act because they already know how to box. If that's true, do you believe that even if somebody has the knowledge, but they don't have the pizzazz from an entertainment background, that they can still go out there and create entertaining content?
Oh my gosh, 100%. And that's actually one of my favorite things to talk about, because people see me and they see entertainer flashy. So when our company Viralish, they always think, well, she's just going to teach me how to be really silly or personality forward. Just because I founded this company doesn't mean we try to transform everybody into being just like me. 99% of the people that we help now are boring as dirt, in their own words. You know, they don't want to be silly or funny or an entertainer at all. And that's just very natural to me. But at the end of the day, it's psychology. It's the psychology of attention. And that is niche agnostic. And so all of our frameworks are completely niche agnostic, but run parallel to every major algorithm. And all the algorithm is, at the end of the day, is people, is a response to what people naturally gravitate towards and find interesting. So if we can reverse engineer that and put that in different palpable frameworks for people, that's what the goal is. So no, you can be deadpan, boring, anything that, from a personality standpoint. But online, you don't have to be silly, but you do have to be interesting. When people come across your video, they need to believe at a subconscious level, this is the best possible thing that I could be watching right now. Otherwise, they'll scroll. So how do we package somewhat boring niches or industries or mission, messages, products, or service into something that is interesting? That's what we help people do.
So you work on a very simple formula. You look at the hook and then curiosity, and then you add value. And I think you illustrated it with the toilet video. I watched that like 5 minutes before we started.
You got to be specific. We've made so many toilet videos.
It's the one, I think it's your husband that's sitting in the toilet, then you come and talk about your course, and then you basically use the illustration of that. Take us through that framework that you use.
That's really fun. I wanted to be able to stand on this, as I believe Hormozi says, this undeniable stack of proof that I am who I say I am, and I practice what I preach. So if I had led this video just saying, hey, I have a course out, or if you're struggling with social media, here's 3 tips to blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, we're over it. Like, not everyone can truly be an expert, but we have to hook them with novelty. We have to cause an emotion in the viewer, and we have to have a curiosity gap. Those are really the non-negotiables. And then our golden rule is that these first 3 seconds must create an itch that you don't scratch until the last 3 seconds, which would be your payoff, your call to action. And then we try to take people through what I call the funnel drop framework. And so it starts top of funnel and then accomplishes middle funnel and bottom of funnel all in the same video. And so that's one of my favorite frameworks, but really what we've mostly taught for the last 5 years, and now I feel like everybody's out there teaching different variations of it, and they should be, because it works every single time. And now you can work on your execution of it and get better at it. But really, it's no different than age-old storytelling, right? It's hook, what stops the scroll, suspense, payoff, raising the stakes, engagement tactics, and then testing. And these 6 very simple elements, but when combined, create on average 10x reach on literally any video that you were going to make. You just have to learn how to execute it really well. But even though it sounds simple, all the best things in life are. But the hook alone has 10 different elements in it, and you need at least 7. Suspense and payoff, they all have these different elements. There's 4 main ways we raise the stakes. You need at least 2. And so it essentially just serves as a checklist for non-creative people to storytell themselves in a way that is going to appeal to the masses.
That's incredible. I love how you break that down. It's so simple to digest. Let's talk about the curiosity gap for a second. So for somebody who's watching this, it's like, what is a curiosity gap?
A curiosity gap is pretty much a video. If you've ever been on Facebook, especially, you know exactly what this is, where a video, you come across it and you don't want to be watching this video, but you can't stop because they've created an itch in you, a little mental tickle, that you have to see where this goes. Either it's so silly or dumb or stupid. It could be like the worst video. I'm using air quotes for those who are just listening to this. But you just end up watching it, and then you, quote unquote, waste 3 minutes of your life. And I know 99% of you have been stuck in that trap, and I apologize to you deeply, because there's a 99.9% chance that you have seen a video that I was either in, behind the camera for, commissioned, or directed, because that was our specialty, especially 2020 through 2023. And that's how I became the most viewed female publisher in Facebook and Snapchat history. Somebody may have passed me now, but we were unstoppable with billions and billions of views that I didn't even have to be the face of anymore. We had all types of pages, but they were all based on those same principles that I just briefly ran you through. And so that became our checklist. And I'll never look you or anybody else in the eye and say every single time you use this formula, your video will go viral. But I will say it increased our batting average to about 7 out of 10 videos doing over 1 million views. So it was very consistent and very predictable. And the curiosity gap is the most important piece. Suspense is what separates good creators from the best creators in the world. And so if you start to look at the videos that grab your attention and hold you, and you give them a long watch time, it's because there was curiosity. And that looks like suspense. It looks like tension. And so if you just remember that tension equals retention, that is what is going to help your video have longer watch time, which is going to tell the algorithm your content is valuable and allow you to have more and more touch points ultimately with your audience, which is necessary to move them through a sales cycle. So curiosity is the only reason we would keep watching a video. It's the only reason we would keep watching a TV show or a movie. Look at your favorite movie. If the hero saves the girl at the middle of the video, it's over. You know, like the tension can go across an entire season and across an entire 10 seasons. And it's age-old storytelling. We've just sort of adapted it for social media.
Yeah, I binged Game of Thrones last year for the first time. So I watched all 8 seasons back to back, and I don't know how people managed to spend like 2 years or like 2.5 years between seasons. I don't think I would have managed. But it's interesting you bring that up, because you see that quite often now with movie trailers, where the trailer, because people are so used to short form content and they give so much entertainment and sometimes spoilers in the actual trailer, that people are disappointed by the movie because the trailer is completely action-packed from start to end. They sit in a 3-hour movie and go, the trailer I thought it was going to be better, but it was actually just because we're being like conditioned to prefer short-form content.
Yes, but you said the hidden key there is they went to the theater. The reason you click on a YouTube video is because of the thumbnail and title combo. Like, there's curiosity gaps and open loops all around you, and your brain has to satisfy them once it sees it. So what psychological triggers can we pull in a viewer's mind on a completely subconscious level to get them to click the video or go to the movie, go see the theater? It's because there's an open loop that was created that you need to now go satisfy. It's very compelling. Yeah. And so that's how we get literally anyone to watch anything, even things they don't want to be watching. Because if you can open that loop, they have to close it.
Oh, gosh.
And so you can hold their attention for as long as you keep that loop open, and then you make more money the longer you keep that loop open.
This explains why I go and watch Screen 7 just because I heard Matthew Lillard's voice for like 3 seconds in the trailer. All I heard was just his voice. It sounded like Matthew Lillard. I'm like, I have to go and see this movie just to see if Matthew Lillard's in this movie, because he was the original killer in the first one. So it's so interesting how that translates. And that goes towards the monetization, because they release these trailers for free, but then they go and make the money back on the box office. So now let's go back to before Adley's become this big famous star, billions of views on Snapchat and so on. Like, what is your approach? Like, how many videos would you post a day? Like, I don't want, it's not necessarily like how many should people be posting. What did you do in the beginning?
I did one a day.
Okay.
And that was all I had the time ability for. As you're learning something, as you're becoming a beginner again, you can't just start running a 5K on day one, or most people can't, right? You've got a lot to learn. You've got to work up to it. And if you just go, if you picture a ladder and you're just on like the bottom rung and you just jump to the top rung, when that ladder shakes, and you will fall off because you didn't establish all of the other tools to build a strong foundation for yourself. So you'll burn out. You'll just be producing high volume amounts of crap, or like it's not sustainable. And so in the beginning, I knew I had to cut my teeth. And so I studied it. And I had feedback loops and people to kind of tell me what to do. And that was the biggest key to my success. And any creator's success really is having that feedback loop. Otherwise, you are just like, I hate the phrase shouting into the void, but you kind of are. And so volume is not always the answer. It's better feedback loops is looking at the data and if you can, having people who are a few steps ahead of you or who have what you want, guide you there. That can compress years into months.
Yeah, Alex says it quite nicely. Like, don't surround yourself with people. Don't listen to people who are at your level. Listen to people who are at the level you want to be at. So that speaks very much into mentorship on all fronts. But like, so you start posting a video a day. Like, how does it work? How many views? Can you remember the first video you posted? Like, what was going through your mind as you were going through this process?
Oh, you guys. I also love when people say, oh, you had a leg up and your videos were just working right away because you were on the show. No, I didn't, you guys. I think I gained maybe 11,000 followers from that show on Twitter alone. That was the mechanism back then. It was like, here's somebody's Twitter. And nobody really watched my video, Saj, for like 4 years. Like, I had views comparable to the average viewer watching here. Like, nobody watched because I didn't know what I was doing. And when I was making content, it was all, look at me, here's my music, buy it, tell your friends. And nobody cares about that. And when I realized, okay, nobody cares about this. And I have to figure out how to create this so there's value for them. And so I was just thinking, man, how do you organically get people sitting around a table to actually take that action on their own? How do you make it their idea? And how do things virally spread like that? And so that's when I started studying it. And then over time, I got better and better. Had mentors who helped me along the way. But for the first 3 years, it was just me figuring it out, getting horrible amounts of views. But again, I had already decided the outcome was that I was going to win and I was going to entertain on my own terms and I was going to figure it out. So I didn't care that, it was taking a lot longer than I thought it was. I thought I would have figured it out a lot quicker. But I guess that's why God never shows you the whole plan up front. Because if you knew how long it was going to take, you wouldn't start. But I just knew eventually I was going to crack it. And so that's what allowed me to push through the years and years and years of it not working. And then, yeah.
So how long before you started to monetize it?
2020. Facebook turned on, end of 2019 was, I believe, when we got access to Facebook monetization. And that was not life-changing at first, but at about 4 or 5 months in, it was like a rocket ship. When you're early into those creator tools.
This is how long after you started posting your first videos?
I started posting my first videos just for music stuff, probably 2023, 2024, and until 2019 that they made it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So 2003, 2004, you start posting videos, and
No, wait, that's a lie. 2014.
2014. Okay.
2014 is probably when I started posting.
So 2014, you start posting videos. You start to monetize it around
2019.
2019. So it was a 5-year process before you started to.
It's a 5-year process before there was any money. But I loved it. That was another thing, because I was making stuff I actually enjoyed. So money I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it to entertain people. And I was like, maybe I'll get in a movie someday, or maybe I'll tour on my own terms. Like, I knew I was good at entertaining people. And so I was just like, I'm just going to build an audience, and I'm not going to try to sell anybody right away because I haven't earned the right to. Like, let me build an audience, figure out what they want, And then maybe I could sell them something, but I had no idea what that would be back then. And monetization on platforms was not even a thing. So, except for YouTube, but I wasn't really doing much of that. I tried it, but that was a lot of work. So I liked short form right off the bat, short form being anywhere from 0 to 3 minutes. And then Facebook monetization kicked in, and that blew my world right open because we were ready. I'd been making videos for 5 years, and then a mentor had seen that hustle, and he started training me to be ready for when monetization kicked in. And then we were very fortunate to be early in that process.
Nice. So I did see the video where you said college is a waste of time, but education isn't. So
I 100% agree.
Yeah. So what was your strategy around developing the ideas in those early days? So how long would it take you to develop an idea, to film it, and how many cuts did it take before you actually published it? Let's be honest.
Oh, man. I'll talk about like the 2019 era, because that's when it really started working. So there's no use in me telling you about all the times where it didn't work. But 2019, which we had really cracked the code, and then 2020 was when it exploded because the whole world's just sitting on their phones. Then what we were doing was essentially, my husband and I were doing prank videos. And so we were taking really relatable themes, like couples relational themes, and they could be really ordinary instances, and then we would just 10x them for virality. Like, say he didn't want a pet, and I really wanted a pet. Well, then I would turn the apartment into a barnyard for the day. I would just 10x those really relatable themes so people saw themselves in it. And we had a very Ricky Lucy dynamic. Or it was COVID, we wanted to go on vacation, and I'm kind of the rebel character. And so I just put a hot tub in our living room on the 4th floor of this apartment building. And then I just put a whole hot tub in our living room and could have crashed at any time, through the floor or whatever, flooded. And so we would just take those relatable themes and then 10x them. And we got really good at taking ordinary things and moments and making them extraordinary by just storytelling them. And if anybody had ever seen this hot tub in a living room video, it was a big one for us back in 2020. We put this hot tub in a living room, and we rehearsed that. We shot it 6 or 7 times. It looks 100% real or improv, but we knew when we were going to clap and turn the bubbles off. We knew when we were going to yell at Alexa. We knew exactly what we were going to say. So it was very scripted reality because we needed it to work, because there were tens of thousands of dollars on the line. And so we don't have all day to waste. We want to, when there's tens of thousands of dollars on the line, literally with every single video, we make sure we get it right. So the pranks were staged. We had actors in these things. But we were just taking our real life and making it bigger, because that's what made it fun to watch.
Yeah, and y'all had
So what
money.
happens if somebody doesn't have a partner and they're doing it by themselves?
Oh my gosh, there's so many people. Most people are doing it by themselves. Half my biggest videos were me doing it by myself. There's a video I did during COVID times, and it was taken down everywhere. But it's still on YouTube now, and it's called What We Should All Be Doing Right Now. And it was me kind of giving this fake press conference, and that video blew up. It was on Good Morning America, it was CBS, and it was just social commentary about what people were experiencing, but I 10x'd it and exaggerated it. And so that was really kind of my winning formula for what felt right for me, because it was funny and fun, and I didn't want to do it if it wasn't going to be fun. But so much, you can do so much by yourself. All my husband's videos are him by himself, all of them. Is Blake Kinsman or Blake.Kinsman on TikTok or Instagram, and you can see all of them are DIY videos, but they're pure curiosity based. You have no idea what's happening the whole time, but you can't stop watching because of that curiosity gap. And he doesn't even speak in them. And he's my favorite case study probably ever, because he hates making videos, hates it, is socially anxious and doesn't like it at all. But when he's an engineer, and so when he just saw this formula, he was like, oh, this is just plug and play, black and white. So if I just do this, yeah, pretty much everything gets 10 million views. His views would crush mine. And it's in a small niche like DIY. He doesn't speak in them, and he shoots them by himself. So absolutely anybody can do this. There's not a niche I don't think we haven't coached in at this point that we haven't been able to make this work for.
There's a wonderful saying, when the why is big enough, the house will take care of itself. What's Adley's why?
give people confidence in their own authenticity and abilities. A lot of times people don't give themselves permission the way that I was somehow able to give that to myself because I had been burned by the system. But other people often think that they're not worthy or they're not good enough to do this. And so the person we are best equipped to serve is the person that we once were. So now we've created a system, a company, a service, whatever you want to call it, to give people that permission slip and then give them the tools that I wish I had. And pretty much what that is like a sanity check, and just showing them, hey, we could save you the 5 years it took us to figure this out. Here's a formula, here's a checklist, here's a distribution method, and just try to be that feedback loop for them, because creating by yourself is so hard. It is very lonely sometimes. And any entrepreneur knows this. Well, then you add something where you're going to feel really cringy, like putting yourself on camera and performing and acting in some sense and putting on this character of yourself in order to be interesting online. And it just feels so foreign and people don't like it. So if we can make it fun for them and we can help them see what they may not see about themselves, because it's hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle, that's what we're best at.
Incredible. I watched the video. There's two things I want to talk to you about, and then the final question. The first one is around. I saw a video of you. I think you were flying back from Australia, if I'm not mistaken, and you filmed yourself how you were doing your setup. So you had the lights, you had your phone stuck on the screen, and you're walking through that. Now there were people around walking past, and I'm sure that people looking over and going, "What the heck is this crazy woman doing?" It's like you're building this whole little mini studio in your business class or first class seat on the plane, and how do you get to that point where you just like you're in your bubble, you don't care about other people, you're so focused on the mission? How do you get to that? Because many people suffer from that. Many people would look and say, I don't want to disturb other people on the flight, so I'm gonna shoot so much content and so much ads while I'm on here. Like, I'm gonna make the best of this. I've got my own little mini studio. How do you get to that point where you just you lock out the world and operate within yourself?
When I realized that I want to be part of the top 0.01%, and then operate differently than other people. I can't think about what they think, because then I'll stop myself. And that's not just for filming videos on a plane. And we're not disrupting anybody. I'm just talking, out loud while everybody's boarding. But I think I got rid of the give a shit a long time ago, because the comments used to tear me apart. And I realized you cannot be a people pleaser and do this business, because I would let those comments really, really get to me. And then so I did my next video. I was like, okay, I'm going to make it so they can't say any of that. And I'm just going to do everything, quote unquote, right, what the viewers were telling me was right and what I should do. And in that video, 2 comments back to back. You're the worst person ever. You should go kill yourself. And the second comment right below it was, this is the best video you've ever made in your life.
Damn.
Like, oh my gosh. Okay. So you can't win either way. Mm. And so if you just treat it like a game and you think of, okay, how do I be the LeBron in my industry? What would he do right now? I'm going to make content, even when I don't want to. And that's where the discipline and the self-development and the being around people and coming to events like this is so important, because you have to reprogram yourself. If you can't do this and you can't be successful and overcome all these challenges if you think it's going to be easy, if you think it's just going to happen naturally. You have to fight to become a very different version of yourself, and that's going to take so much uncomfortability. So much. And that never goes away. If you don't feel like a beginner again all of the time, like I'm trying to teach myself Claude Code and all this different stuff right now, and a different style of content creation, because I'm not making the cringe, funny, silly, goofy content like I was that got us to where we are. Now, I'm trying to figure out what my content looks like as a hybrid entertainer and educator, in a sense. So what does that look like, and how do I make that interesting and kind of carve a path for myself there? I'm a beginner again in a different type of content. I can make all types of videos with my eyes closed, turning sugar into cotton candy using a dryer. Like I can cook ribs on the engine of a car all day long. But this style is new for me, and I love being a beginner again, but at the same time, it's very scary. And so I think getting used to being consistently uncomfortable is something that you really have to get good at. And you only get great at that by reps. That's not something that ever just comes easy. You just have to know every time I put myself in a really uncomfortable position for the why, then I am so glad I did when I can just play the tape forward.
Well, people are going to be watching this and be like inspired, like to go and create content, and then Monday's going to come around, or a new week or a new month, and then I'll do it. And I think it comes back to you're a living commitment is, because commitment is doing what you said you're going to do long after the feeling you had has passed. And I think that's a wonderful way of putting it. Like you do it even when you don't feel like doing it. After all you accomplish, you still get days where you like, I don't really feel like doing it, but I got to do it.
But I want the outcome of it more than I don't want to do it in the moment. Did I want to sit there and make 15 videos over the next 15 hours of this god-awful flight? No. But do I want what's on the other side of me making those videos more than the uncomfortability in the moment? Absolutely. And I have reaped the benefit of that time over time. So now it doesn't even feel like discipline. It feels like excitement to have the outcome, because every time I do the thing I don't want to do, I'm getting one step closer to what I really, really want. And so, but that's a training. Your mind has to see evidence of that for long enough, I think. And so you just have to be willing to take that step and just keep stepping. But you hit on it exactly. Motivation. We've all been human and on this earth long enough to know that motivation fades. And we are human. So we have to put guardrails around ourselves and punishments or consequences if the thing doesn't happen sometimes. And that's literally why Viralish exists and why we even have a job, is to be guardrails and accountability for people, because you have to have that, because the motivation will go away. This is not easy, but it is necessary. And you guys wouldn't be watching this session right now if you didn't know how important social media was. And so it's important. You have to do it. I do believe that we have a small window where it is going to, like over the next 12, maybe 24 months, where the people that pull ahead in social media and systems and content creation are not just going to be a year ahead of you. They're going to be 25 years ahead of you, because the rate at which people are learning and creating their digital footprint and their digital real estate is compounding. And so that's why I'm just trying to scream from the rooftops, like, do this now. Do it for yourself now. Do it for your future self now, because it is going to be 10 times harder to carve out your digital footprint and own that digital real estate over the next 12 months.
Cool. 2 questions before we wrap up. You did touch on it. I was going to ask about how you deal personally with people with negative comments, but you did say you used to think about. But just in a minute, like how would you deal with those negative comments, especially around the video where your husband was going to smack you on your butt and then you bent forward or something and he hit you in the back of the head. And I was like, woman abuse, he's abusing her, this is physical abuse, this is not funny, women are abused every single day of their lives, and, like, how are you making fun of that? How do you deal with people who get on that bandwagon and soapbox of commenting on the stuff that you do?
A lion doesn't listen to the opinions of sheep. If you watch that video and you have a frontal lobe, you understand that it was an accident and a joke, and look at our page. Everything is set up as observational humor, and that is why it works. And so if you can't see, I moved my head, and that he felt absolute remorse because he just missed. But he is at a human moment, and you see how ever it's the obligatory husband walks past his wife, which is bent over, he's going to hit her butt, but then it goes wrong. Yeah. Like, it's a situation everybody's been in with a twist. And so when people say stuff like that and they don't understand the context, then oh my God, I could spend my whole life fighting with those people, or I could just move on and make another video.
Like,
and so
I've chosen the latter. Where you and your husband are walking and you keep on walking, and like every man on the planet has experienced that. No one has spoken up about this until I saw this video. I'm like, finally, this happens. Where it's like you're like moving sideways. It happens to every man. I love the content that you put out there. I think it's so relatable. I think in a time where people are so fixated on, oh my God, I can't pull fuel in my gas in my car. you're bringing a lot of laughter, a lot of hope, a lot of joy into the world. And I think that we need more of that. Like you're not gonna be able to fight the darkness with more darkness. You're gonna be able to defeat it with light. And I think that you bring a lot of light into the world. So the last question I have is that, for the people watching, if you give them 3 things to take away that they can go and implement now, a very high level, what would it be?
Before I get into those 3 things, I just want to say I so agree with what you just said, that you can't fight darkness with more darkness. When I was in the darkness, what I needed was light. When I was in that horrible time and other horrible times in my life, I needed the levity. And so when the whole world is in darkness, I don't just want to harp on that. It's so important to have levity, to remember that life is worth living, because what you focus on magnifies. And so if I could put magnification on anything, it is the brilliance and the amazing opportunity we have to be a part of this human experience. And so I appreciate that very much. And I just wanted people to hear what he said, because you have an opportunity to have levity. And when I go through darkness again, I'm going to want levity again then too. So if I could leave you guys with 3 things that would, I believe, have the biggest impact on just your content creation. But content creation, much like entrepreneurship, is really just a fantastic mirror and an opportunity for personal development, because you will feel cringe in content creation. But everything that you want is on the other side of Cringe Mountain. And I don't mean cringe as the videos we used to make. I mean, it's how you're going to feel about yourself when you're trying something new. And so practically, when you are making your next piece of content, I want you to think, how can I get 90% retention on my first 6 seconds? And if you can get 90% retention, so meaning somebody comes across your video and is stuck, and they've got to see where this is going, because you've pressed on a sensibility they didn't know they had, or you created an open loop that's so strong, it's niche agnostic, right? They don't need to know that you are trying to get people to come to the Milwaukee Public Library, or that you have a coaching program, or whatever. Don't let them know about that in the first 6 seconds. You are going to watch your reach expand massively. So that would be my first unlock for you. Just when you assess your next hook, say, do I believe 9 out of 10 people would stop and watch at least 6 seconds? And if not, try to fix it. That would be my first practical piece of advice for your content. The second piece would be words. I don't know who said them first, but I first heard them from Vishen Lakhiani. And he said, when you don't know what to do for yourself, go and do something for somebody else. If you make your life a life of service, you will never wake up lonely, depressed, or anxious another day in your life. So often, when I don't know what to do in a situation, or I feel a little bit stuck, I realize, well, you get sad. And then I realize I'm thinking about myself too much. And I just go try to make my very next action something for somebody else, some act of service. And I immediately, 1, fix the sadness. 2, it's kind of like going on a walk or taking a shower when you're trying to solve a problem. You often solve the problem and you create the space for creativity to solve the problem when you aren't trying to think about it so much. And you are able to serve somebody else and get outside yourself. And that has served me countless times in my life, especially when it comes to content creation. And remember that your videos aren't for you anyway. Like, they are. But if you make them for other people, you will reap the rewards of that. Which bring me to point number 3. That if you want unlimited access to distribution, you make what other people want to watch, not what you want to make. Because if I just made what I wanted to make all the time, the two will eventually blend. But when I first started making content and it wasn't working, I was just promoting my music. I was promoting the outcome that I wanted, and it wasn't for them. And then when I started figuring out what they wanted to watch, I'm like, oh my God, they just want to watch cat videos. They want to watch amazing things caught on Ring camera. And there were these containers and buckets that I saw storytelling, really viral stories happening inside. So then I found those containers, and then I found a way to make my content look and feel like that for them, and made what they wanted to watch. And then I got them to watch what I made. And so if you want unlimited access to distribution, make what they want to watch, not just what you want to make.
I love that point. It comes back to what Les Brown says, that never make a point without telling a story, and never tell a story without making a point. I think it comes
very
back to
good.
that. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Adley, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and
Thank you,
talk to our
Saj.
community. It has been an absolute pleasure. It was so fun. One of my most fun interviews we've had on this challenge. I love it. I love the work you're doing, guys. Go ahead and check Adley out on the socials. We'll post the links in the chat. Just go check out, follow her, and I can guarantee you, every single video that you post, you learn something new about how to go about your own content. So just go ahead and put some love in the chat. Tell us what you think. And once again, thank you from everyone at Real Success in the